Hey, everybody, and welcome to Full Court Cleveland, the maiden voyage for us here. My name is Rafa Hernandez Brito, but I cannot do this alone. I'm joined by Mr. Sam Amico, and over there, a good old friend, shoot it, Booby, Daniel Booby Gibson.
Yes, sir.
Our first time out here, we're going to be every week trying to do what we love to do, which is watch and talk about basketball. Sam, it's a pleasure to be sharing studios with you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's exciting to be here. I know the two of you were doing this last year, and they thought, why not add Amico? I don't know what made them think that, but I'm happy to be here.
Sam Amigo instead of Sam Amico. So
Right,
we got a new
right.
amigo. The question for you, Booby,
Three amigos.
you were in a tricycle. I was in the skateboard. Where do we put Sam on? Do we put him like on rollerblades or like?
Ain't got no beach out here, no surfboards, huh? Put him on the surfboard. It got to be rollerblades, huh?
I would like surfboard.
Surfboard.
Yeah, I think that would be more
yeah,
my
surfboard.
personality.
So we're a little
we'll see.
behind from the start of the NBA season. Obviously, you all know the Cavs are doing so well, starting 5-0. A lot have been said, Sam, about the beginning of the season, which was a schedule that games that on paper you're supposed to win, but at the end of the day, you did what you're supposed to do: win games against teams that are on paper, let's say, inferior or with less talent that you have. But then the last two matches that the Cavs have had, going to 5-0 record, the only undefeated team in the Eastern Conference and only two in the NBA, are against two teams that are, I would say, contenders
Yeah.
on both conferences, which are the Knicks at Madison Square Garden, which we all know what that place is like, and also against the Lakers, the return of Bron and Bronny for the first time at the Fieldhouse, and a great performance by the Cavs.
Yeah, really that Knicks thing, I think, with going into Madison Square Garden, being down 13 points at one point, you look maybe in a couple years past that they probably would have folded then, but then they really came to life, right? I mean, as soon as they got down 13, they've got this belief system that's very clear with new coach Kenny Atkinson. To me, that was a huge statement win. Obviously, it's hard to make statement wins in October, but it's better to be playing well now than the alternative. And then everybody else, including the Lakers, they've blown out. So, I mean, you look at the first 5 games, and this is exactly what Kenny Atkinson was talking about in training camp, all the players were talking about in training camp, which is, it's a new day. It's kind of a new system. We're running a new thing. And the great thing about bringing everybody back is they're comfortable together. So I think that probably counts for a lot.
Yeah, when you think about bringing in a new system, there's that adjustment period. And you obviously have to play the schedule. You have to play the guys in front of you. And it's a benefit to come into the season and have teams that you can kind of get geared up and kind of see what works and what doesn't. And I think we built some good habits to start the season. I think we were scoring over 130 in all those games. So I think that gave the guys confidence. And then when, like you said, we go to New York in a tough environment where we got a little bit of history. What I mean? We can't act like there's nothing there. But the guys got out there and they performed under fire. And I feel like that's where you learn and you build trust. And I think the guys are now understanding what Kenny has brought to the table. If we can sustain it, it'll put us in a position long term to be a good team come end of the season.
And obviously on Full Court, Big Play Network in Full Court Cleveland, we're going to be talking about the Cavs. Obviously, we all are Cavs fans, but also around the NBA. Yeah. What else do you guys want to bring into the show? What else do you think we can talk about here just to make sure that we're entertaining?
Well, I think one thing for sure is you look around the league, this race is, going off last year. It was so tight in both the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. I expect it to be like that again this year. That's why it's so important. People are saying, well, the Cavs, 5-0 doesn't mean anything. Every game now in the NBA, because of the parity,
there you go.
It matters.
Yeah.
You're talking all 82 games because I suspect, and I think most people suspect, that this race, whoever finishes second in the Eastern Conference is going to be 2 or 3 games behind first, and third will be a game behind second, and all the way down to 8th or 9th, in both conferences. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the league and the races.
And with that being said, okay, I was thinking about this last night because right now we're still without Max, right?
Yeah.
And we're pretty deep. So it's like I know Kenny has mentioned going about 10 deep for games, right? Like I feel like that's hard to do. I feel like it's hard for guys to catch rhythms, to keep rhythms, and it shows a lot of sacrifice from a lot of the guys and buying into the long-term goal, because I think what we realized last year is when you put so much on guys early, they kind of wear down later in the season. But I'm just curious for you guys' opinion, when Max returns, what are we playing, guys? 15, 17 minutes a night, and Karras is, to me, at his peak form right now as a player, but there's just not enough minutes to really go around to really, give him the minutes I feel like he's earned and deserved. But obviously we're playing great, so that's not a knock. It's just I'm curious for you guys' opinion on what you think will happen next.
I think it's amazing how he's been able to get everybody to buy into the minutes, the sharing, the less spotlight. But at the end of the day, you guys very well know you've been in the league a lot more inside than we have. That it's all about how fresh and how healthy you get to the playoff, how much you deal with things you cannot handle, which is health. It's one of them that affected us a lot last season. And I believe that we are seeing the plan or the key in order to be able to play 10 guys, and you're always gonna get somebody that is hot in one night or on the other.
Right.
Against the Lakers, for example, there were 5 guys that had at least 10, 11 points in a quarter during that beating. So that's something that favors the philosophy of Kenny Atkinson, and I believe it's a formula to get healthy and get fresh to the playoff.
Yeah, and that's just it. And to Boobie's point, I mean, Karis LeVert truly has been kind of the unsung hero in all this.
For a while.
We talk about the core 4, and they've been fantastic, and Dean Wade's done his thing. But, Karis LeVert has forced nothing and been a distributor and still scoring. And just, I agree with Boobie. This is the best we've seen him in Cleveland, and I think that's a huge boost.
And Boobie, you know very much about this. And Karis had mentioned to me exactly what you said to me once, that you love coming off the bench because you can see how the game is developing in the first few minutes. Yeah. You being the first guys off the bench, you know whether you need to bring energy, shooting, defense, and obviously you were lucky enough to have all those skills. So it's a position that once you embrace it, I think you excel at it, like Karis is doing now, and you did when you're playing this.
And I don't want to take it for granted. It is really hard to do. You know what I mean? Like, I act like I smile and I play it cool, but it's really hard to do. So when I look at Karis, because like you said, you sit on the bench and you read the game. Like, if the guys don't come out with energy, you bring it. Like, whether that's defensively, offensively, whatever it takes. But you're also not called all the time to be able to get volume shots to catch a rhythm. So you kind of have to always be ready and locked in and on point and efficient in order for guys to feel productive. You know what I mean? So a guy like Karis, I feel like, who feels like he can score at will, it got to be tough for him to kind of put that all into, to kind of just hold it all in. But that's one of those things we talk about for sacrificing for the betterment of the team. I think he's a guy that's been selfless since he's gotten here, and the whole team has been selfless to begin the season. So I'm just curious to see, because like as a professional, as it goes on, that's the toughest thing to do, to like continue to play and sacrifice your own numbers for the betterment of the team in the long run.
Even though Boobie's starting on full court, we're going to go take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to bring in off the bench him and Amico to talk about Cavs headlines presented by our good friends from Garage Beer. We'll be right back. De regreso con ustedes. I know I'm doing it in English, right? Hey, everybody, we're back. We go in full court with the Cavs headlines presented by our good friends at Garage Beer. Remember, Garage Beer comes in just 2 flavors, classic light lager and lime. No thrills, no bitterness, no IPAs. It's just flavor beer. So, Cavs headline, what do you guys take out of these first 5 games that we've been able to witness as we sit here in our studios, Big Play Studios? The philosophy, Kenny Atkinson said that when he met with our president of basketball operations, Kobe Altman, 70% of the conversation was what his plan was with Evan Mobley. And obviously the numbers show he's touching the ball more. He's taking 9 drives per game, and they're trying to get Mobley to be a little more selfish with the ball.
Right.
And I'm one that thinks that we will be where we want to be when Evan Mobley is the best player Not that he's not going to have guys with talent like Donovan and Darius,
Sure.
but once he blossoms to what we believe he can, which is basically a no ceiling possibility, Sam, do you agree with that philosophy?
Absolutely. I mean, I think a big part of these coaching interviews this offseason was how are you getting Evan Mobley to another level offensively?
Absolutely.
And Kenny Atkinson clearly gave the best answers to that. You know, and Jared Allen talked about this after the Lakers game with Evan at the top of the key and kind of almost facilitating the sets, the half-court sets. It's really and being efficient and giving him that responsibility. He's really delivering in that area. And, you know, the great thing about this offense that we've seen so far is we're going to share the ball and move and all that stuff. And guess what? Everybody's still going to get their shots. You know, it's benefiting not just from a team concept, but individually. It's benefiting. So if Evan can get to another level offensively, the way he's played, keep playing like this, yeah, they have the potential to go places. Defensively, he and Jared Allen obviously already elite.
Yeah.
You know, so you just want him to take that step offensively, and it really benefits everybody.
And for you, Bobby, how long does it take for a team to get into a rhythm, get used to the rhythm? Kenny Atkinson has been really smart about not really messing much with what was considered one of the best defenses in the league for the last couple of years. Yeah. With the culture that we have built with JB Bickerstaff here, you know, going from 22 to 50-plus wins. But now it's a new offense. Now they want to move the ball. They don't want to run like Loyola Marymount running, but they want Mobley to bring the ball. To me, that gives an opportunity to Garland and Don to move ahead and be ready. They're shooting well from threes, but again, it takes some getting used to. You always hear that when you have new players coming together or a new system coming in with Kenny Atkinson. How long does it take, and what does it take to get used to that?
Like I was happy that we were able to start off with the 3 games that we were, because that's kind of that's kind of the point earlier I was thinking of, that you kind of get a chance to build some confidence, but it takes a while because you have to have some lows. Like right now we have the highs, right? We feel it working and everybody's happy and we're sharing the sugar, but there'll be moments where those shots don't go in.
That's the real moment, right? When how do you react to the adversity?
The bunker mentality. When you're on the road and you lose, like what do guys do? How do you respond in those moments? And I think that's where the character starts to build and the trust starts to come from the coaches, because now they learn that you gonna hit the mat. It's 82 games. You're going to hit the mat. And so how do you respond in those moments? And I think that'll identify this a great team. And I heard Donovan say it. We did it once. Cool. Let's do it again. Yeah. And do it again. And that's where I feel like you'll continue to build that. And to get back to Evan, with him taking that step, I just think that we as a whole need to understand that might not look like Donovan going out and getting 40 a night. You know what I mean? It might not look like that. But his presence as an all-around basketball player that can get the ball off the rim, bring it down, run the DHO one time, might give it up. Next time might keep and get into the post. I just think that as he develops as that all-around guy, the numbers might not be 30 and 20, but he could easily be a 19, 10, and 6 guy as he continues to build. And on this team, that would be, like you said, the best player, because he'll be like the most important piece to what we do, and everybody can kind of fill those roles. But headline for me is Tower City. And
I'm glad you mentioned that.
These two guys, oh my God.
This is for you, for both you guys. I'll start with you, Sam. How amazing and how important it is for the Cavs, not only to have extended Jared Allen, but a dude that starts 24 of 29 in his first 5 games, a dude that doesn't want the lights, he doesn't want to be, he just wants to do the work that his team needs to do, and while at it, add three double-doubles in the first 5 games, another 15-15 game where the Cavs are like 24 and 4.
I think he had a double-double in the first quarter.
How incredible it is to have that, a Jared Allen. Not talked about much about, I guess he's part of the core 4.
Right.
But when people talk about Cavs, it's always the first 3 of the 4 that come in. And I believe the Fro is such an important piece offensively and defensively for this team.
Yeah, he's massive. You know, I mean, you're talking about a guy now, I think he has as many block shots as he does misses through the first 5 games. So, you know.
Wow.
Two more against the Lakers, yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's really been, if you look at the end of last season, because of Mobley's still developing and Garland's injury. Jared Allen was the second best player on the team before he got hurt, other than Donovan Mitchell. And that's saying a lot because the other guys are really good. So, just the fact that he can defend the way he's defending, and you have he and Mobley there as Boobie calls him Tower City. I mean, it's teams will kill to have that type of defense at the rim.
And these aren't your typical 7-footers. Like,
No,
you watch these guys run up and down the court and switch on to these hybrid point guards and get stops, man. It's such a luxury to have those two.
Is it me or that left hook is looking a little more sharper this year, huh?
He's alive.
I think he's picking the throw with the left just to work it out.
Right.
I agree.
No, but
the skill is very, it's
well,
on point.
That's one good point, is they are able to switch out on wings with no problem.
He was guarding Braun.
Right, Mobley was guarding
in the perimeter.
Well, we saw Dean Wade guarding, speaking of the, kind of the fifth wheel there, out guarding Jalen Brunson in to start the game against the Knicks. So to me, that's defensive versatility can really carry you places.
Listen, we have a lot to cover here in this maiden voyage of Full Court with Boobie, Sam, and Rafa, yours truly. But when we come back, I got to ask you guys about this chant that we heard when the Cavs were hosting the Lakers, about what you guys feel about Bron and Bronny in the land. We'll talk about that when we come back in Full Court. Welcome back, everybody, to Full Court on FanDuel Sports Network and live from the Big Play Studios. Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse is celebrating their 30th anniversary, from Gun Arena to Quicken Loans to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And part of the celebration was when the Lakers came to town. That was the first night, the first team night that we had, that we celebrated everything that has gone on, not only just basketball, but, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, induction, all the concerts. I'm sure I'll tell you a story when I met Sam Amico for the first time outside of a Cavaliers practice. But, concerts, all kinds of events. We're going to be very active for the voting coming up. But Bronny coming back, I got to tell you, the night the Lakers came to play was my 10th year anniversary of my first ever game with Los Cavs. And it was when LeBron came back and played his first game. And I remember these two little kids that somebody told me were LeBron's kids. Bryce was almost tripping on himself. He was so little. And Bronny was already trying to, all he did was shoot threes, like any kid would do. But to have him score his first bucket as a professional at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and I still, at the moment, didn't know how to feel about people chanting for Bronny, but at the end of the day, you know what? He's a local kid, right? He's one of ours. So what was your take on that and the arrival of Bronny to Cleveland and the NBA?
I thought it was really cool. Look, people say, it's nepotism or whatever, but so what? You're the best player of your generation.
Nepotism is good as long as you keep it in the family.
That's exactly right. Yeah. He's been waiting to break that one out. I'm glad I said it. But I remember when I first started covering the Cavs, seeing LeBron in the locker room saying, Bronny, go get me a Gatorade out of the cooler.
Right.
And Bronny run over there, couldn't get the cooler open. He wasn't strong enough. So to really have been covering the team this whole time and seeing that develop, just seeing their relationship, father-son relationship, just, as fathers ourselves, that's a touching time. I mean, you could feel how great that was for LeBron. Yes. I think it was probably a lot cooler for LeBron than Bronny. Bronny was probably kind of cool, but LeBron was probably, should probably brought a tear to his eye.
Father.
Right. Yes. And you just be so proud of that moment. So I think that's, them being the James family being local. I think that really, the crowd rightfully celebrated that. And to me, I don't think much about it because I got a lot going on up there, believe it or not. But I just thought, when it happened, when he hit that bucket, I was just like, that's just like the coolest thing. And for it to happen in Cleveland, who knows how many more opportunities we'll see of, not only LeBron playing in Cleveland, but Bronny scoring a basket. To me, it's just a historic moment.
I was one of those people. I was.
You are Nick Padone.
Sir. I wanted to see it because, to your point, I believe you said we came into the NBA at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
That year, we go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and that was Bron's first trip to the finals. Cleveland's first trip.
That's
right?
pre-Bronny days, right?
No.
No?
This is the beauty of it.
Oh.
Bronny's on the stage.
Get out. Oh, being okay.
Not
Handheld.
like a baby,
Yeah.
But Bron had him on the stage next to celebrating that moment. And so when I think about that on that same floor, and then you fast forward 20 years to now, not only did he make the first shot, he did Bron's signature move. Y'all didn't see it with the right look down to the right hand, step back right baseline. On the baseline, Bron's first shot, baseline, one dribble right.
Wow.
All of those synergies just to me is just so beautiful to see. And just to get back to just LeBron is one of the greatest basketball players ever, but he's a father first. And to be able to sit courtside right in front of you and see your son make his first basket where you made so many memories had to be an unbelievable. I was a proud uncle up top, I tell you that. I was up top. So, man, shout out to Bronny for his first bucket, man. I feel like there'll be a lot more for him in the future.
And I think people that criticize that moment or him being in the NBA are just missing the whole thing.
They're missing it.
What father would not do whatever he can to get the son in his business?
Yeah.
Right?
The son was a McDonald's All-American, too, by the way.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
I know, but forget about all the things.
Division
But
I.
everybody's like, oh my God, he got in there because his father's like, well, he's not the first one.
Right.
I run a website my son writes for.
Yeah,
it,
that's what I mean.
I'm like, he started when he was 16. I'm like, you're in.
Shooting, my son gets all the shots on my
Right.
on my AU
Right.
team. Like it's just how it goes. But the beauty of it is Bron's. Like we all see how active he is in Bronny's life. Like they work out together in the morning for these, but in the summertime to prepare for these moments. So I mean, 20,000 screaming your name to come in for your first bucket. That's a tough place to be in. So shout out to him for the composure.
And you got to give it to Bronny, too, because, there's a story of a kid in, Diego Armando Maradona's, one of the greatest soccer players in the history of humankind. His son-in-law is El Kun Agüero, Sergio Kun Agüero, who played for Argentina in the national team. So Kun's son is, his grandfather is Diego, his father is Agüero, and he wants to be a musician.
Right.
So you got to give it to Bronny. At least he got surrounded by basketball all his life.
You know what made me laugh about that whole thing that I thought was awesome was LeBron, if you remember, they're getting blown out. The Cavs are blowing out the Lakers. LeBron gets called for traveling. He doesn't even wait for that. He just walks right over the bench like, I've had enough. I've never seen him that mad in Cleveland.
Yeah.
But after the game, they just got blown out. He checked out angrily. He was all smiles. He was so happy and beaming. And
when Bronny made that shot, I just seen him light up. I just saw him light up. And to me, that was the greatest moment because you could see there's a picture of him shooting and Bron just standing behind him in the picture. To me, that was
not to make it a Bron show, but I guess we have to talk about it because the dude is 40 years old and he's still playing with 18, 20-year-olds and looking like he's a 20-year-old. But
I don't mind.
Yes or no answer. Does he wait to play with Bryce as well?
He dressed that, kind of laughed about it, so I don't know. Boobie would probably know that better than me. I'm just guessing.
At this point, I put nothing past the king. I put nothing past it. I put expectations on this man before thinking that okay, this is like the end here, but he just is an all-star.
He's not one of us.
He's a totally different human, so it's probably highly possible that he plays with Bryce too.
And that's being told by a guy who has skills that not many of us normal humans possess when it comes to playing basketball. So we're going to go back to talking about the Cavs when we come back in full court Cleveland because the Cavs have a very tough stretch of games for everybody that have been talking about easy wins to start. Well, they got a very tough stretch coming up, and at the end of the day, it's 82 games that you got to play, and let's see how many of them the Cavs win. We'll be right back on Full Court Cleveland. Welcome back, everybody. Full Court Cleveland, Rafa, Sam, and Booby. Always being told to shoot it here in the show. And before we go back to NBA power rankings, like we always do, and the top 3-ish and a half that we always have with Booby, we got to talk about this.
No, this guy, if he did 3, he going to take 5. So just be prepared for it.
I'm inclusive, Booby. I'm inclusive. There's room for 3, 5 fit. That's the way we grew up. It's like if 3 can eat, 5 can eat too. So
I'm telling you.
Before we get to the rankings, Sam, the stretch of games that the Cavs have come in after starting 5-0, the only undefeated team in the Eastern Conference, Oklahoma, is still undefeated after Chet won the third of 4 matchups against Wemby and Oklahoma City, which is one of the teams that I think will have a lot to say in the future here. But how do you see the Cavs sailing along here with 2 consecutive games against Milwaukee and also with Orlando that's coming to visit? That something there's a bone to pick there for the Magic after losing the 7-game series.
Right, and you have Orlando, who's really was playing well. I mean, opened the season, went into Miami and blew them out.
Good additions, too.
Yeah, right, and with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, adding to that huge front line. Banchero's had a 50-point game. So then you get him Friday night, and then you got to right after that game, it's like, okay, we're off to Milwaukee. Right. The Bucks, they still have Giannis, and they still have Damian Lillard and trying to get their act together. It's tough. And Booby knows this. There's no rest. There's no celebration.
It's a marathon,
you're playing the long game here. So, and I thought Booby said something. He just echoed the coach. Kenny Atkinson is the first coach I've ever covered who in training camp said, you know what, there's going to be a time where we're terrible and things are going terrible.
Yeah.
And how do we come out on the other side of that? Right now, the Cavs aren't there. Obviously, they're playing great. Mm-hmm. But, this is a tough stretch. You've got Orlando, Milwaukee, then Milwaukee back in Cleveland. It's these are the games that you try to prove your mettle and make a statement a little bit early.
Now, Booby, you mentioned the 130-point games, so everybody gets a picture of this. The Cavs have had 3 games of the first 5 where they score over 130 points. Last year, we have 5 of those games.
Wow.
So do you see that continuing? Do you see that of the Cavs continuing to play that defense that they have had? They're in the top 5, top 10 when it comes to efficiency in both categories. Is that something that needs to continue? Do you want this team? I'm not saying you're eager to see them face adversity, but that's something that also builds character and gets you ready for what's to come, which is those 3 and 4 nights and everything else.
What I don't want to have happen is the peak right now. Well, that's what I don't want. I wouldn't want the best version right now. Like, I want us to keep getting better. But to your point, I think the defense with Tower City and the versatility that we have will remain consistent, right? I just know that we've had those principles the past years with this core group. But when you think about the offense, I go back to Coach saying that he wants to play 10 guys. It gives you the option to be able to sustain that, because I do think that the biggest key for them has been their pace. Mm-hmm. Like the way that they've been able to get up and down the floor and bring in fresh guys and the next guy's ready to play. And I think it gives you the option of having a different guy be the guy every night. So I think those numbers could potentially stay there, but I also think that as the season wears on, they'll come down a bit. We'll come down to reality just because shooting goes up and down during a year. But I think with the thing that we've added to our offense with the cutting and the shifts and keeping everybody active threats, I do think that there will be a plus in our offensive output, and I do think we'll be able to sustain a high level of offensive just because of what Coach K has added.
Now, when you talk basketball with my friend Daniel Booby Gibson, you always have to talk shooting. So the question for you is, how happy are you to see Dean Wolf and our friend, the latter-day sniper, Stan Merrill, getting the minutes?
Reporting for duty. I think, and even seeing Sam on the floor, Don looks for him. Like,
he looks
the moment
good,
that
man.
he touched on the floor, the moment that he gets on the floor, Don is finding him. And I just love that the ball has so much energy with this group. Like, I don't really see anybody like holding and pounding. Even Donovan, I like the way he's been getting to his numbers. I think he had 20 in the first half or 18 in the first half last night, but it didn't feel like he was trying to go get it. It felt like it was in a part of the flow and the action. And I think he's a key because if he's not forced to have to overexert himself early, I know for him, he said it last night, physically he felt good, feels good. So that'll help us down the line. When it gets tough and maybe some other guys can't make shots, guys like Dunn and Darius will be able to carry the load. They'll be a lot more fresh.
And Sam, Boobie's talking about versatility. Mitchell, 15 points in the first quarter. Allen, 14 in the second quarter. Lavert, 11 in the third quarter. And Mobley with 17 and Jerome with 11 in the fourth. So it kind of helps that 12, 11-man rotation because somebody's going to be hot that night.
Yeah, and Darius Garland scored 34 the game before that against the Knicks. So, that's the nice thing about this offense is it is an equal opportunity. And the stars, the leading scorers, Donovan Mitchells of the world and the Darius Garlands, they're going to have their nights. Some nights there's going to be nights where things aren't dropping, where they're not shooting 58% from the field. And that's where you say get Donovan the ball and just say, do your thing. But right now, and as Boobie alluded to, the guys off the bench, Sam Merrill, even George Niang hit a couple of big shots when the Lakers seemed like they were getting ready to maybe make a run. Niang hit a bucket, drove to the basket, which I don't know that I've ever seen George do the minivan, drove to the basket and threw up a
minivan had another gear right there.
Right, Who guessed?
And
then he came down and hit a three. Right. Then he came down and hit a three, and so I think all of those guys. Isaac Okoro had some good stands defensively and hit some shots. So it's good to see everybody's playing with a great deal of confidence and really kind of renewed energy from last season.
Yeah, playing for each other.
Yeah, and we have said adversity will come, and full court means we're going to cover everything. We're going to go full court. So the question to you, Bobby, what needs to get better? What have you seen that needs to improve? Darius Garland in foul trouble in 2 of the first 5 games. Mobley foul trouble. Maybe that's something that is being asked of him to be a little more aggressive. Tell me. I mean, you got to have somewhere that, like half glass, half full, half empty, no?
Mr. Positive over here. I'm trying to think.
No, I know, but I'm saying what something needs to get better. They got to work on something, no?
They do. But to me, it's going to be sustaining this ability to share the basketball as we start to play against better defenses and teams that are now going to prepare for the things that because now they're going to get some film. Sooner or later, guys are going to start to learn what you're doing, learn your plays. And now will you still go to that next option? Will you still make that extra pass? Those are the things where I feel like we'll still have to sustain and get better over time. But right now, we cooking with high degrees out there.
Speaking of clicking, before we get to the break, the Cavs, all 5 games, when they start 5-0, at least 10 steals per game. So defensively, when you're taking the ball away, when you beat the Lakers with 35 points off turnovers, even though you shot 25 less free throws, that's a key to success. We'll be back with more Full Court on FanDuel Sports Network. Welcome back, everybody. Rafa, Sam, and Boobie. Full Court, first show ever. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Send us your comments, your suggestions, whatever you want to do on our social media. I'm sure we'll have it like somewhere here, down here on the screen. But let's go to the rankings. I know it's an early start of the season.
I'm new here, so.
But top 3 teams in the NBA.
Top 3 teams. Cavs, number 1. Power rankings, we're going to put us
by top. Record, they're number 1 because they're the only team with 5 wins as we speak.
I just look at the offensive numbers and defensively, you put those 2 together.
Almost plus 20 differential,
yeah. I got to go with us, number 1. And obviously OKC, I'll put it second. And I don't know record-wise, but just watching that Boston group, the games that I was able to see. I think they lost overtime last night.
They lost overtime to the Pacers, yeah.
It's kind of hard to deny those guys because at the end of the day, that's who you're going to probably have to see and go through if this is what you really want.
Yeah, I don't think there's much argument there in the top 3 between Cavs, Oklahoma City, and the Celtics, who were the last 3 undefeated. So I ask you, Sam, the 3 surprises, or I don't want to say disappointments, but a lot has been asked, like what's wrong with the Nuggets, and who else do you throw in there from the start of the season that I don't know might be
Yeah, Denver's definitely one of those teams that you would say, what's going on? They need Booby off the bench. I mean, they
need Cowell Pope and Reggie Jackson, no?
Joker, well, I would find that corner so
right, yeah.
What? I would let that thing fly.
I would say them. I would say, the Knicks, it's like they got blown out by Boston. Now, they had a great game the other night with Karl Anthony Towns scoring 44 points, but in fairness to them, they do have new pieces in Towns
getting
and
together
Bridges.
and getting acquainted.
Right. So you got to get used to each other. But right now, it's like, they're not, they're not atop the East or anything like people suggested. I know the Pacers beat the Celtics, but to me, this is a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and it kind of looked like just really uneven. Now, again, we're in October, so this isn't big criticisms, but it's those three teams to me that kind of stand out that it's like, okay, you still have plenty of time to pull it together, but you got to pull it together here soon.
Are you surprised Memphis and Ja haven't been clicking in all cylinders?
I was expecting, I know Jason Tatum has his hit list from the USA game, but I thought, man, Steve Kerr, man, hey, we got a bone to pick with you, man. I don't know why you did that to us. But yeah, when I think about Ja, I thought he was going to come back with the same vengeance. I thought he was going to come back with the same mentality. But, I mean, obviously it's taking him a second to catch his rhythm. The team that's kind of got me, Milwaukee, they're coming in here. In a couple days, so I'm sure they're going to be trying to have something to prove. But, yeah, that's a team where I thought that now they've had a year to kind of get used to each other. Now they would kind of take another step. But it looks like they taking another step backwards. So I'm curious about what they're going to do.
And if we stay in the East, which is obviously the conference where the Cavs play, what teams do you think will be the top three competitor? I know last year, for second year in a row, we ended up in fourth place in the Eastern Conference. So obviously, the Celtics are the champions. We have to throw them in there. Everything had to go through Boston last season, and from how they have started, even though they're just running it back, and again, without Porzingis, they're shooting the threes at record levels. Right. I think Boobie would like to be in that team too. But other than that, Sam, what do you see in the Eastern Conference from either just names that we thought at the beginning of the season, or from what you have seen in this early start?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Celtics, Cavs in that mix. Philly, once they get whole, get Embiid and Paul George, they're obviously, you would think, with Tyrese Maxey going to be in that conversation. Knicks, I think, will be just fine. So, I mean, right there, we're talking four teams, right?
And then all the young guys.
Yeah. Right. And then you throw in the, Indiana Pacers, who went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. There's five. I'm not going to totally count out the Miami Heat. Okay. That's six, and I don't even think I've mentioned the best of the bunch is Orlando. Yeah. Right. I mean, they're really an up-and-coming team. So there's seven. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody in there. Chicago's been playing really well to start the season. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you asked me to pick three. I picked eight. I picked eight, Booby.
With the whole Eastern Conference.
right.
Sam did even better. He did two top threes.
Sam just said, I would just run it down 1 to 8. I would just give them all.
Yeah.
But to his point, that Philly roster, kind of how we're talking about these other teams having to put it together. If those guys aren't ever on the floor together, who knows how that'll look when they finally come together. So if we're thinking about an opportunity for our Cavaliers to kind of take claim for one of those top three positions.
And out west, with what happened in the offseason with Denver changing completely, with losing Reggie Jackson and Cowell Pope, which I think has been the biggest reason why they have had that kind of start. Yep. With Minnesota surprising everybody, getting rid of Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, even though they brought in DiVincenzo and Randall had shown moments where he doesn't like to play much defense. How do you see the West out there at the beginning? Obviously, Oklahoma City is still undefeated, but there are teams there that have, the Mavericks, I think, are a team that got to be reckoned with. Yeah,
well, obviously, Mavericks adding Klay Thompson, going to the finals last year, a year after not making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They've found some things, and it's not just Luka and Kyrie, but adding Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington at the trade deadline. That's been huge. Yeah, that's been huge for them. So Oklahoma City, obviously, and then they're going to add Hartenstein when he gets healthy. Just really, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's probably an NBA MVP candidate. Where do you guys put the Warriors with all this that is going on in the Western Conference, and they're still able to put up points in the 130 level?
Yeah, The Warriors are scary. I mean, they got a pretty deep team, right? They got a bunch of vets on that team. Bringing up that bench, and then you add Steph. So I'm curious how they put that together because they got a Steve Kerr is, we get back to the shooting. I'm used to guys, his teams being able to shoot the basketball. So that team obviously is not on the level of his past teams. Yeah. I feel like they have more like slashers and guys that create. So I'll be curious to see how they run their offense. But a team that I thought was going to take a step by adding those veterans was San Antonio. Mm-hmm. That's the one I thought was going to be a dark horse. So maybe they still have time to kind of put it together. But the one that just kind of still bothers me is those Suns. You know how much I love my guy
Imagine
KD.
how we haven't even talked about it. Yeah.
Love my guy KD, but it's just still something just ain't quite clicking.
Right.
But I do love what Buttonholz has done. I don't want to act like I don't see that there's more movement there too in their offense. But
my God, but talk about getting used to things. They got different players, different coaches, injuries, and everything like that. So that those big three haven't really had a chance to play. Our big three will take a break and come back with more full court right after this. Here we are once again, full court. Last segment of the show. I want to get your initial thoughts of our new journey. What do you want to bring? What should we do? We'll let the audience tell us a little bit about that. But are you happy with what we have covered? A little bit Cavs, a little bit of the league, a little bit of like top 3-ish, 6-ish.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that you said I could say more than top 3 teams in my top 3 list. So, I mean, that's probably what I'll bring is over talking and overselling things. But I'm excited.
Speaking of talking, how's it going in the pregame with Kaylee Griffin and the FanDuel Network?
Cool.
Like, come on, Mr. TV guy.
I appreciate that, man. It's been a lot of fun, man. It's been a lot of fun. It's just something about Cleveland and me being able to connect with the fans. Mm-hmm. Any opportunity I got. Like last night, we did the broadcast from the concourse. And
you did a Cavs Legends Corner, too.
I did, Cavs.
I was like, you did the first ever Cavs Legend Corner. When you come to the Fieldhouse, come to the atrium right by where the FanDuel pregame desk is. We're going to be there, and for the game against Orlando is Larry Nance will be joining us on the court.
Nice. I think I'll be on the – y'all should have told me to stop by last night, even though I was doing the broadcast.
You're busy, and we know what it is to be on the air getting prepared, so we didn't want to bother you.
I could have came by for a second and said hi to the people. You know I love the people, but I've been enjoying it, man. It's been an honor for them to give me an opportunity to chop it up and talk about the game. So
hey, speaking of honors, can I do a shameless plug?
Please.
Pre-game to the game against Orlando on November 1st, I'm gonna be given the award of NBA Call of the Year that was elected by my colleagues, broadcasters around the NBA. So
yes, sir.
That's really
I won
cool.
the Play of the Year with the dagger by my name is Maximus Max Struz against the Mavericks. So I'm going to be celebrating, and I want to thank all of you guys for the support. And also for putting up with my screaming for 10 years.
Well deserved. Yeah. Well deserved.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Your calls are always amazing. I don't speak Spanish, but you be putting me on.
Oh, man. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to watch your game so I can do it like, shoot it, boy.
That would be awesome, man. But congratulations. That's a big honor.
Thank you, man. The good news is we're going to try to be here every week with what's new with the Cavs, with what we think should be better with the Cavs and the NBA, with the top rank, with the headlines by our friends from Garage Beer, and obviously with Bobby Gibson, Sam Amico, and yours truly, Rafa Hernandez Brito. You don't see Ryan behind the screen, but he's the guy that makes sure we get on the air and we're joining you guys. And there comes the alarm that I have to go.
Show's
Thank
over.
you, Ryan, for letting me know. We'll
I
see
can
you
still
next week,
talk,
everybody,
Rob.
on Full Court.